Alrighty, what's good, guys? It's your boy Fatality, and today I'm gonna give you my overall review about actually a game that I've been having a lot of fun of, and that is actually a game called Spellbreak. As you can see right now in the gameplay and a few other clips in this video, I'm gonna tell you why I think, in my honest opinion, that Spellbreak is one of the most fantastic battle royales game in the entire genre as of right now. This game has been only out for a few months and already it have built itself up to a point where I think is one of the best battle royales. As you can see here, I also play with a few other peers of mine, including one you can see right there, QTY201, another YouTuber himself. You can also go subscribe to him and check him out as well. He also played this game as well, me and him, and he can also say that this game is actually really fun. This game is actually one of the most funnest battle royales I ever had, and I highly recommend it to everybody. But this is actually going to be a review on why I think how the game is and its current state. With that, let's just get on with the review. So pretty much Spellbreak is your typical battle royale game that everyone always knows. It pretty much have the same game modes that everything other battle royale games have, which is pretty much solos, trios, and duos, as well as actually another game mode called Clash, which is pretty much your 10v10 respawn game mode, where the first team reach a certain amount of points win the entire match. But that's just pretty much a basic of it. But however, Spellbreak does indeed introduce other things. So you may be asking, what is it that they use to actually eliminate their opponents when you're ever in a battle royale? Pretty much the majority of battle royales actually do indeed use something like a weapon or a gun or whatever. But Spellbreak use something more of magic base, or I like to call it gauntlet. Gauntlet is pretty much the weapon of choice when you first start the battle royale. In fact, when you try and load up into a battle royale game and match, you pretty much actually pick your own gauntlet. Now, there are 6 gauntlets in total, starting from actually fire, wind, ice, and earth, which is pretty much the typical 4 elements, but also adding lightning and toxic. Now, each gauntlet actually is a very unique version of themselves, and they each actually come in as a very variation of powerful gauntlets. Because there's actually, you start off with actually a common gauntlet, which is pretty much you can see in the gameplay, like you see a white circle around my gauntlet, which is the fire attribute. But there are actually variations of it, like a legendary stat, which is pretty much the best one you can get and does the most amount of damage. Gauntlets also have the ability to level up itself. You see, to level up a gauntlet, you actually have to enter into the circle when it's closing. If you are entering the circle, it will actually already level up itself, making it into a more powerful gauntlet. Each gauntlet class have their own level up system, meaning they all have their own passive and abilities to increase their damage output, make it so that your sorcery spells cooldowns are reduced, or even so that it makes you even more powerful or immune to even your own abilities. An example you can see right here probably is actually the one me using fire, and I actually increased the level to level 2, which gave me the level up system of actually Firefly. And Firefly, what it does is allow me to actually go through my walls of flames and actually fly around for a certain duration. This is actually a very creative way because this actually wants me to go into the storm even more and get out of it and actually level up my gauntlet, because the more times I level up my gauntlets, the more powerful I become and actually make my opponents a lot more harder for me to kill. One other thing that's actually very unique about the gauntlets is that you can also combo into other gauntlets, which is pretty much considered to be a secondary gauntlet. Now, secondary gauntlets are pretty much unique in their own right, because that means you can use other combos into it. However, this actually makes it so that you don't actually level up with the secondary gauntlet. Unfortunately, in the game, you only can level up one gauntlet, which is the primary gauntlet, but the secondary gauntlet cannot be leveled up with it unless you have actually a certain ability to do so. But pretty much all the gauntlets indeed have unique perks to it. For instance, one of my favorite combos is actually using fire and toxic, where if I have toxic as my secondary, if it actually causes the enemy to actually take damage over time, but also if they get hit with toxic, like a toxic ball or a toxic on the floor, and get hit with the fire, it actually does even more damage output. It even does actually a crowd control AoE attack, making them to also take damage over time, but also around the area. However, you should be advised that comboing into your own Gauntlets could actually lead to your teammates taking damage out of it as well. There have been times when I actually damaged my teammates by accident by throwing at you a few fireballs or even getting them sucked in by my own wind and everything else. Because in the game, they could consider to be friendly fire a bit, but only actually on the shield portion rather than actually on the HP portion. This can actually lead to your teammates actually taking damage from yourself, as well as actually you not being aware of it. Which I will actually advise you to actually tell your teammates what you're about to do, so that way they can help you out, or just stay out of the way so you don't hit them by accident. Next, we have runes. Runes are pretty much your typical ability boost, allowing you to do certain attributes and do certain actions to make sure you get out of or into a fight. Each rune have a unique way, where actually a rune called dodge or dash actually allow you to actually move frequently and actually dodge the attack with a certain leap of ability. There's also another one called Blood Wolf, will allow you to actually see enemies within your radius, and actually the better the rune stat, the more better the ability is. For instance, the legendary status are considered to be the best one. But however, be mindful that runes that have a cooldown time. But the legendary status of a rune could actually decrease that. The better the status of the rune, the shorter the cooldown time. Runes should also be only used for certain scenarios and also be used for whatever class spell you're using. For instance, I use actually dodge if I'm playing actually more of aggressor, or try and get distance if I'm using something like toxic and fire, so that way I don't burn myself. This also can be applied same thing with Wolf Blood that allow me to see enemies from far range as well through objects, but also if they're using invisibility, it makes it easier for me to actually see them. Then we also have something called talents. Now, talents are pretty much your typical perk system. They're pretty much the perks that you use on your gauntlets. And knowing that, you can customize it into individual gauntlets, meaning that one gauntlet can have this amount of talents, but yet the other one can have this talent. And this is actually kind of good because I actually feel like this is a unique game style. It can help you actually put you in scenarios and also make you so that your gauntlets can actually play more of the play style that you like. However, a drawback to this is indeed the fact that when you use a gauntlet, or a better term, you use a talent with the gauntlet, it actually requires you to do it in a perk point system, where certain talents will actually be worth more points than others, and you can only have 6 points in total. An example would be like if the first talent would be worth actually 2 points, but the second one would be actually worth 1 point, meaning that you only you use 3 points already, and the last talent can be either between 1, 2, or 3 points. 3 being the maximum, which being a total of 6 points. Not only the talents can also be very useful, they can also be upgraded as well. Upgrading them by using scrolls around the map can actually help you with your talents and make them even more powerful. One of the talents that I actually enjoy using is actually the one for the body, which allows me to increase my chances of finding more potions, but also increasing my chances by finding more scrolls, meaning that I can become a supporter for my team and help them out by using that ability. There's also other talents as well that can be useful with this, but overall, scrolls are pretty much the only way you can level up the talents during a game, and I highly recommend it to actually point it out to your teammates. Overall, I think that actually Spellbreak is one of the best Battle Royale games I ever played. It's one of those type of games that even though it's only been out for a few months and this could be the honeymoon state, it's still actually a game that I enjoy so much. They even have a battle pass system. The skins is actually alright. The prices could be a little bit lowered or changed, but honestly, I don't care. Their dailies and weeklies are actually kind of fun, as well as actually the gauntlets themselves, and the fact that every time when we go into a squad, it's actually not overwhelming rather than fun, because every time it feels like it's just brand new. There are actually a few things I will complain about. One of the things are the crossplay. Now, I'm not talking about the crossplay itself. I actually love the idea of playing against PC players, and this game actually supported really heavy. The only thing I do complain about is the fact that the player numbers for console and PC is the ratio is actually kind of low on the console version, because we actually have a little bit harder time getting console players on this game rather than actually playing on PC. But I'm not saying that in a bad way. I actually think that going up against PC players in this game is actually a lot more funner than any other Battle Royales. That's because actually with past experience and bad, as well as actually bad experience, in honesty, is that PC players tend to ruin the fun because they're more accurate on the PC keyboard and mouse rather than on console. It's also the fact that they could be aimbotting, they could be doing this and that. We don't know what they could be doing behind the screen, and we don't know anything else. But other than that, the gameplay as of right now has actually been fun against PC, and I highly even recommend taking on PC players because it actually would test your skill and help you out a little bit more in the long run. In the end of it all, I think Spellbreak is a fantastic game, and I highly recommend you try it out for yourself so you can get used to it. And I think I am praying that Spellbreak continues to have great success overall in the long run, as well as improve on it as well. But if you like what you see here and also want to know more about it, I wouldn't mind doing a couple more in-depths on it and go in detail on actually some of the gauntlets as well as some of the talents with it. I will also be making videos based on it as well. But if you like what you see here, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And until then, I will see you guys when I see you guys. Take care, everybody.